Hmm. So this is something I have started doing before recording to just empty my mind from thoughts that aren't necessary for what I'm about to do or film. It's a really convenient way to just clear my mind. So as you can see, I don't have my headphones on. I just, realized it's quite unnecessary when it's just me. I don't even listen to myself. So here I am, headphone free. So you can see all of my hairdo. Um, so welcome to my little nook in the World Wide Web. Koala is me, and this is my little creep in. Creep in is Swedish for a little nook or a little, like a small place to just crawl into. It means literally crawl in, creep in, crawl in. So it's a little nook in the World Wide Web. My little nook. So who am I? That's what we're gonna figure out today, right? I think I've done like one, maybe two of these videos before, and there's been some changes since the last time, so which is quite interesting because it wasn't like that many moons ago that I was like, where have I been? Who am I? I'm back on YouTube. And then just a couple of months later, I was like publishing the video about coming out, being my authentic self. Just kinda just erasing everything I said about myself earlier on. But no, kidding aside. So who am I? So in this context, I am a shamanic practitioner. I have been a shamanic practitioner for quite a long time. I'm Swedish, and I'm originally, well, my journey's been long. I'm probably, I don't know if I'm older than I look or what it is, but so I started my journey, my lifelong journey in the mid 80s. So that's how old I am, folks. And during my childhood, my dad was very interested in like rune stones and like historic places and the Swedish and Nordic history. And I have memories of him taking me out to look at rune stones, and I have a memory of knowing how to write with the runes very early. So my first connection to the Nordic shamanic practice was a non-shamanic practice, which was to just use the futhark, the futhark, futhark, the runes of the futhark to write. So, start with writing my name and writing things. And I started journaling at a very young age, just for fun, like not in a serious way, just like kids keep a diary. And I used the runes so no one else could be able to read it, wanted a little bit of secrecy. Um, and yeah, so that's kind of how it started for me, like learning the runes, writing with them, exploring the historical landscape in like everywhere we went for a holiday or vacation. We went to, oh, that's so hard to say. We went to historical sites, and there was always like something with the connection to the Middle Ages, the medieval times, or the Viking Age, and that sort of thing, because it's a part of the Swedish and Nordic landscape. It's a part of our roots. And I know that people watching this know by now that the Vikings wasn't like, not every Nordic person was a Viking, right? It was an occupation to be a Viking. So we were still just Nordic people. And I have roots that go, way back into the Swedish history. And yeah, my dad did one of these DNA tests. It wasn't much else than just Europe. There was a bit of Siberian genes, but that's about it, I think. Mostly Central and Northern Europe. So I just discovered my heritage, I guess, very early on, my Nordic heritage. With the runes. And then when I grew older, when I was a young adult, I started to work with them a bit more like from a medicine and magical point of view. And so that's kind of how I got into it, because when I was a child, I remember putting my hands on the stones with the carvings and being like, there's more to this. I could like I remember feeling the pulse of the earth in the stones, and I just felt that there was something emanating from these stones that weren't just words. So I started exploring that a bit more in my early adulthood. I went to university to learn more about medieval and Viking texts, and so I can almost always like read the text from the from the medieval times. Why do I want to say Middle Ages? It's like pop culture is in my head. The medieval times and the Viking Age. So I can read almost all the text, I would say. There's different kinds of rune alphabets. So there's like an older one and a younger one. And the I work with today is the Uthark, which is the Futhark, but it starts with the U with Urus when we work with it magically. So I consider myself like heart, mind, and spirit, a Nordic practitioner. And then as I have worked on myself and my growth and my self-awareness and healing myself from the inside out, I came into contact with the Kiro medicine, the Inca shamanism through the Nusta Karpai 5 or 6 years ago. And or like 5 or 6 years ago I started. Which year was it? 2014 maybe, I think, or 2015, that I sought the expertise of a shaman to help with healing bad memories, like healing trauma. That's what it is. And so that was my way in, like healing trauma and healing different aspects of my physical and energetical body. So that made me look further into that one, because I hadn't really came across another Nordic shamanic practitioner that I trusted enough and that had methods good enough. Well, that's what I felt, to help me with that. And when I needed it, this shaman was there, just like popping up from nowhere, and I was like, I'll go to her. And she later initiated me into Nusta Karpai. And then a couple of years ago, during the pandemic, I studied the Munai key rites. So that is my education, you can say, within the Incan shamanism that I also practice. But I practice the Nordic shamanism more fully. So I consider myself a Nordic shamanic practitioner. Um, there's so much like stigma around the word shaman, so I tend not to use it to describe myself. I say no, I say shamanic practitioner. So my practice is based very much in the runes and the Uzark, and I will talk more about that in another episode of this on here on YouTube. I have talked about it as well in the past, but I will talk about it again. I will talk about what how my Nordic practice looks like, what I do and what it entails, and my tools and that sort of thing. So that's who I am when it comes to the shamanic side of it. And then I'm also a trans man. So I it's been like 8 months now since I came out as trans. Hi. So that's me. But this is not. I do, as you might have seen, I do talk about trans-related topics from time to time, but this is not a trans channel on YouTube. It's not my main focus. My main focus is the shamanic practice and everything witchy. And sometimes maybe in other realms of the spiritual community, including like when I talked about transphobia. Yeah, if something is happening and it lights a fire in me and I want to talk about it, I talk about it. If it's connected to spirituality and or witchcraft or shamanic practice. So that's a short story about me. If you have any questions, put them in a comment, and I will see them and address them. And just remember, if you're in any way not nice, I might just ignore because that's my right as a human being in this World Wide Web situation. So until next time, walk in beauty, and as I always end my videos, xingeling.